giant crater mysteriously appeared out of nowhere, and locals fear it's a gateway to hell. Deep in the Siberian forest just outside of a small town called Batagai lies an ominous sight to behold. And for the past 25 years it's been growing, along with the superstitions of the local community. In fact, the land here is so disconcerting that the locals are literally terrified. Need proof? Well, the people of the area have taken to calling the geological feature a gateway to the underworld. It's easy to see why. There is a huge gouge in the landscape after all. Plus, local religions believe in a three-tiered universe, an upper, a middle and a lower world. Moreover, some people are so apprehensive of the startling abyss that they're afraid to go near it. And that is before you even consider the loud and fearsome booms that can sometimes be heard emanating from within. But there's a bigger question here. The crater that has caused such fear stretches more than a mile through the landscape. At its deepest, it plummets almost 400 feet below the earth. And there's more. The crater is constantly growing, spreading around 60 feet a year by current estimates. But beyond the superstitions and local legends, something even more terrifying is going on in the so-called Batagai crater. That's because this huge hole in the ground could be a warning sign of future geographical change in the region, and indeed the world in general. To understand what's happening in Siberia, we need to go back in time, around 55 years, to when the crater first began to develop, and how this massive scar in the ancient landscape first sprang into life could well come as a shock. At some point in the early part of the 1960s, a local industrial group cleared part of the forest. What they didn't realise, however, was that in the process they were exposing a layer of ancient permafrost for the first time. Moreover, the results, which first came to light in the 1990s, were catastrophic. The group had unknowingly set in motion what scientists call a mega slump. Essentially, the fast-growing permafrost turned into mush of mud, compromising the stability of the ground above, which quickly slipped into the slurry below. Surprisingly, these slumps aren't that rare in Arctic climates, and since the Yakutia Republic, where the crater occurred, is one of the coldest places on Earth, some scientists believe this was just another of the bizarre but predictable happenings. Now it looks like they could have been wrong. Flooding in 2008 increased the spread of the crater, which has now become a focal point for scientific researchers, and some of their findings have started to change the way we think about permafrost around the globe. The major area of study at the crater has been the effects of climate change on permafrost. Fascinatingly, during excavations, the mummified bodies of multiple ancient animals have been found in the layers of mud and rock that make up the crater walls. But other findings are not so positive. Research suggests that the Batagai crater is just the tip of a very worrying and quick-melting iceberg. Indeed, if you think the crater is a one-off event, then you're sorely mistaken, because more sinkholes are springing up around the area. Dr. Julian Merton is a professor of geology at the University of Sussex, and speaking to Vice, he revealed some alarming statistics. For instance, the last time a megaslump such as this occurred was 10,000 years ago, and the conditions the world finds itself in now are far more conducive to such events than they were then. In fact, at the end of the last ice age, when the slumps were more common, carbon dioxide levels were at 280 parts per million. Right now, on the other hand, they sit at the shockingly high rate of 400 parts per million, and that's resulted in more than one mega slump. Another researcher, Vasily Bogoyavlensky from the Oil and Gas Research Institute of the Russian Academy of Sciences, revealed to the AFP news agency last year that another crater, this one 0.6 miles in diameter, had emerged in Yakutia. He also said that there are another 6 confirmed megaslumps, with yet more likely to exist. It's not just enormous craters either. A range of smaller sinkholes and collapses have been monitored across the Russian frontier, and many scientists reckon they're all linked to the region's increasing temperature, which is a result of climate change. Studying the various layers in the now unlocked permafrost is key to understanding the potential changes that are likely to happen in the future, Merton told Vice. If we can understand how the landscape was altered then, it helps us to anticipate what may happen to Siberian permafrost terrain in the next centuries. So while the crater may not be the entrance to the underworld as many of the locals seem to think, it could still be hugely important for the future of the planet. Plus, it performs another function. The huge gash ripped in the landscape stands as a stark physical representation of the effects that we as human beings are having on our planet. It is, after all, a literal scar in the landscape that's down to us. Whether or not the superstitions of the local people are true, the Batagai crater still remains a stark warning. It may not be wanting to drag us all to hell, but there's a real chance that it represents something much, much scarier. Why? Because this threat could be so very much on the horizon. Please share this video with your friends below.